Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I've got a simple design for you with a little bit of a glow-in-the-dark surprise. So we are going to be using some glitter from Peachy Olive Glitters. I mixed equal parts of Lestrange, Hallows, and Frosty, and applied that to a black base on this tumbler using the epoxy method. I do have 2 coats of epoxy on the tumbler at this point, and I made sure that my surface is glossy. Since we're applying Stickercal that is semi-transparent, you want to make sure that you're laying this down on an unsanded surface. If you are putting these over a sanded surface, the epoxy won't be able to reach the sanded portions, and that will show up under the decal and under that epoxy. So just make sure you've got a shiny surface. And then I'm going to take this tree line decal and I cut little slits in it. If you've ever tried to lay down a long piece of vinyl along some sort of a tapered surface, you'll know that it wrinkles up. It does not lay flat or straight. And so that is what you can do to avoid the crinkling, things like that. I also cut it in half so I can lay it down in pieces. Since it's black, it's not going to show any of these cut marks. It'll be a completely seamless wrap once you're done. So I'm gonna get that laid down, and I did go over this with some alcohol ink at the bottom, and I will tell you in hindsight, I would have laid the inks down first, and then I would have gone over it with the tree line Stickercal. The alcohol ink was a lot more pigmented than the ink on the tree line, and so it was much darker than the black ink on the actual tree line. And you were able to see the spots over top of the tree line when I used the ink to fill in the glitter spaces. So I had to go back and relay down that tree line and fill in the spots so the black ink was underneath the tree line, and it looked much better. And realistically, if I had to do this cup over again, I wouldn't have even used the ink at the bottom. So if you're gonna replicate this, it looks totally fine without any ink at the bottom covering up that glitter portion. You could just stick this on the bottom and let it go the way it is. So that is just my little thought process behind that. And then I'll go ahead and show you the rest of the tutorial. I wanted to show you guys one of my favorite hacks right, in order to make sure this decal is completely straight, I'm going to use a piece of painter's tape, line that right up along the edge of the top of my cup, because we know obviously that is going to be a straight line. And then we'll just butt up that decal right to the bottom of that painter's tape, and then once you remove it, you've got a completely straight decal. So no more eyeballing, no more measuring. And then we're gonna go ahead and cut out any of this excess transparent vinyl that's on here. We don't need anything bubbling up or causing issues for us. So we're just gonna cut that away as close to the lettering as possible. This is totally optional. And then make sure you're either wearing gloves or that you have clean hands so you're not transferring oil and fingerprints on the clear portion of that Stickercal. And then we'll apply that and start working on our glow-in-the-dark moon. So full transparency here, I had no idea if this was gonna work or not. So I just took some regular white vinyl and I put some Aleene's, if I'm saying that right, tack-it on the vinyl, made sure everything was as flat as possible. We didn't have any lumps or bubbles or anything like that in the tack-it. And then I hit that with my heat gun just till it was completely clear, still tacky, a little bit dry to the touch. We're gonna apply this glow powder from Chase Ray Creations to the tack-it that we had just applied. We're gonna rub that into the vinyl to make sure it sticks. And then we're gonna repeat that same process. I didn't put any sealer or anything on this. I just put a second coat of the tack-it, followed the same process, made sure everything was laid down flat, and hit that with my heat gun again. And then we're gonna lay down that second layer of glow-in-the-dark. Now, this is gonna look a little bit weird. It's gonna look splotchy. That's okay because we're covering it with ink. You can't even tell in the end result that it looks splotchy. So if you're getting splotchy marks, don't worry about it. Okay, so now that we've got that second coat applied, I'm just wiping away any excess powder that would flake off and cause kind of a gummy mess once I add my inks. I did not seal this. I'm going over it with inks directly onto that glow powder. And we're gonna use these two alcohol inks. I'll link them below in the description box for you. And I got this sponge from Michael's. I don't know, it's just like a natural sea sponge, I think is what it's called. I'll link that for you guys as well. I just ripped off a little piece of it and I really wanted this to look organic. So I'm gonna rotate my sponge around so it's not giving that same pattern everywhere I press down. I'm gonna kind of rotate it so there's some sort of variation in the design, if that makes sense. We're gonna go in with this gunmetal color first. And then we're gonna go over that with white to kind of give it some dimension. And then we'll go back over it with the gunmetal again to kind of give the moon effect, like the craters and such on the moon. And putting that third, so I wasn't convinced that this was actually gonna look like a moon. But putting that white over the gunmetal and then putting the gunmetal on the top again really gave it that depth dimension that I was looking for. And I'm really proud of how this moon turned out. It looks realistic. I'm really surprised that it turned out the way it did. So I would recommend cutting out a couple of circles, doing this over a couple of moons. I cut this circle out at 1.25 inches. I did cut different size moons because I wasn't sure what size I wanted to go with. So I would recommend just cutting out a couple, doing a test before you commit to one, because you may not get a good result the first time. I'm shocked I did. So I would recommend doing that. And then I'm just gonna place that right on the cup. I just kind of pressed down on it. I tried not to smear it too much because I didn't know how the inks would react with the glow powder over it. And then I let that air dry for a little bit, and I put some UV epoxy over the moon because I didn't know how it would react to spray sealer with the glow powder, and I didn't want to just put epoxy over it and have that glow powder spread across the rest of my cup. So that's what I did. I just tapped that UV resin on top of the moon, and then I'm gonna apply these little 4-point stars on the cup. And I'll tell you, I would not bother doing this. You can't even tell that they're on there. It was completely pointless. It blends right into the glitters. So I would recommend doing stars in like a silver or holographic vinyl or something like that if you want to add the star effect, but you can't even tell these are on there. So don't waste your time. But I'm just gonna apply them with the UV resin as well and hit that with the UV light to cure it for maybe 99 seconds or so. And then we'll go in with our final coats of epoxy. Okay, so this just needed one final coat of Flynn Sisters regular setting artist resin. I didn't do anything else to it. I didn't apply polycrylic like I normally would. These Stickercals are really secure on the cup. I don't worry about those lifting or anything like that. So I didn't bother going in with that polycrylic like I do with more tedious vinyl work. And after I let that epoxy sit overnight to cure, this cup was completely finished. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell button for notifications for future tutorials, and I will see you guys next weekend.